Hey everyone, Spooky799KIL, and I'm here to demonstrate a video showing off a few Stalker mods. I've noticed a lot of people looking around for Stalker mods that have the most locations, so in this video I'm going to be showing all the Stalker mods I've found that have large locations and like added content and all this other stuff. Any mod that wasn't demonstrated in my video is probably because either it was a Russian mod or I've not played it or seen it before, so I apologize if this list does not contain a huge mod that has way more locations. So our first mod we're going to start off with is Oblivion Lost Remake, which is actually a Russian mod. There is an unofficial English translation patch that you can download, but unfortunately it doesn't do quite a good job and some of the quests are almost impossible. The Oblivion Lost Remake contains all the old builds of all the locations and old mutants and textures and all this other stuff. It's actually quite interesting how the game really evolved from what it is today. Like this old dog here that has an old texture and even has an old animation that wasn't used in the final build, which is quite interesting. But you probably don't care about that because the meat of this video is to show off the locations. So the locations include, let's go to our map here. The locations include the so right here is the original cordon, and up here is the original garbage, which is quite different from the final build garbage. Right there's the Dark Valley, which is quite different. The Institute is pretty much the same. The Stalker Bar is completely different. The Wild Territory is totally gone. Lake Yantar is completely different. Then there's the Swamp, which is a completely different build from the Clear Sky build. This one is the original, I believe. Then there's the Dead City, which is the original mercenary base. Then you have the Army Warehouses, which is now renamed the Quiet Hills. Then you have Radar, which is completely different. Then Pripyat, which looks like it's backwards for some reason. That's kind of neat. And then you got Chernobyl, which looks unchanged. And then you have the infamous generators, which was cut out. Basically all of this was cut out, but that's a lot of new locations. And plus old ones that are pretty much the originals. The mod contains 14 locations in total. The mod is quite interesting with all of its old original content restored, though I do not know how much has been changed by the modders themselves, but it's pretty neat what the game would have originally looked like back in 2004 if it had been released. Next we have the Oblivion Lost mod for Shadow Chernobyl, which is basically the same as Oblivion Lost Remake, but a little different. But this one's more similar to the original Shadow of Chernobyl. So we have the released cordon, where the swamp was from Clear Sky, but it's still the concrete factory you still can't go to. You can't go to Darkscape either. You have Shadow Chernobyl's garbage, Dark Valley, the Agroprom Research Institute, Lake Yantar, Wild Territory, the Bar, Army Warehouses, the Dead City, the Swamp from Clear Sky. It's not the one from the original build, which is kind of weird. Wonder which version people prefer. Then you have Red Forest, Radar, and then Limansk, Pripyat, Chernobyl, and of course the infamous generators. Oblivion Lost has 15 locations, one more than Oblivion Lost Remake. Contains all the cut content from the original Shadow Chernobyl release and everything that was originally supposed to be in the game. I recommend Oblivion Lost if you can't play Oblivion Lost Remake due to it being only in Russian. Next we have my favorite mod on this list, Call of Chernobyl, which is the most popular mod of the Stalker community. It contains all the locations from all 3 released Stalker games, which is pretty amazing. So let's zoom out and show you all the locations. So we have the Cordon, we have the Clear Sky Swamp, we have Darkscape, which is funny because it's not in the Oblivion Lost mods, even though it was one of the original cut maps. We have the Dark Valley, Garbage, Agroprom Institute, Lake Yantar, Wild Territory and Bar, Dead City, Army Warehouses, Red Forest, Limansk. The truck cemetery is really interesting because I have No idea if it's one of the original locations from the older Stalker builds or the modder who made this mod created it, but if he did a pretty much good job. It's basically a cemetery with a bunch of vehicles and helicopters all lined up in this like basically junkyard, and it's one of the cooler locations. So far I have not found any other mod that contains this location, so if you have yet to play this mod, it's probably the most newest location you'll find in all the mods. It's pretty large open area too. The Lost Alpha mod contains a small area in their garbage location that it's kind of like this, but the truck cemetery is way bigger. Then you have Radar, Jupiter, Zayton, and then you have both Pripyats from Shadow Chernobyl and Call Pripyat, which is quite funny because the mod has them side by side, but if you go to the top of the map of Call Pripyat, you can actually see the Ferris wheel to the north of the map, which if you wanted to keep consistency, the Shadow of Chernobyl Pripyat should actually be above the Call Pripyat. Pretty funny. And of course you have Chernobyl MPP, and then the infamous generators. Basically every mod has the generators besides the released version of Shadow of Chernobyl. Call of Chernobyl has 20 locations in total. I have yet to play all the areas in this mod, but I plan to explore more of them. Next, we have the Lost Alpha mod, which is a mod that a lot of people don't really like. I think it's okay besides the story. I've yet to confirm if it's actually based off the original story like Oblivion Lost Remake's supposed to be, or it's Desawave completely made the plot what they wanted. It's hard to tell though. I have no way to verify what is true or not. Alright, the locations we have is the Rostock factory, which replaces the swamp, the Cordon, and then we have Darkscape, which is completely different from the original build. We have the original build Garbage, the Agroprom Research Institute, a new area called Construction Site, the Dark Valley, and then we have a forest area, and then we have the original Lake Yantar, Great Metal Factory where the bar is, Dead City, the mercenary base, the Great Swamps, the original. Just like in Oblivion Lost, the Great Swamp is not where Clear Sky Swamp is. We got the army warehouses, a Chernobyl area, which used to be the original bar. Countryside, which I have not seen in another mod, so I believe it's a Lost Alpha only mod. And then the Concrete Factory, which is the released version of the Lake Yantar, which is now in a complete different location. And then we have Radar, which is completely different. And then we have Pripyat, which looks a lot different from the released version. Then we have Chernobyl MPP. And then we have the infamous generators. Just like Call of Chernobyl, Lost Alpha has 20 locations in total. These including most of the original maps from the Oblivion Lost build and some revamped and possibly new areas. You can say whatever about the mod, at least it has a few new levels. I just wish they would have filled them with more wildlife and NPCs. The biggest Stalker mod I could find is called Stalker Soup. There are a lot of content and locations in this mod. So let's get started. First you have the Cordon, you got the Shadow of Chernobyl Garbage, Agroprom, the Territoria ATP, which is a new area, Rostock, which is the bar, Army Warehouses, Radar, you got Dead City, the Red Forest, Limansk, Wasteland Woodland, Hospital from Clear Sky, Courtyard, Jupiter, Pripyat, East Pripyat, Distribution Center, Backwater, which is Zayton, Old Village, Dead Marshes, which is the original swamp from Oblivion Lost, Black Market, generators, Chernobyl MPP, Reconnoited Earth, Forgotten Forest, Firing Range, Dark Valley, Darkscape. Let's just zoom out. Oh, there's quite a few more. Generators. Facility F1, Broken Road, Techniques, which is the original garbage, Research Station, which is the original Lake Yantar, Waiting Room, I believe that's the original bar. Stalker Soup is the biggest mod with a total of 37 locations. This mod is truly amazing how many areas it was able to fit into the game. Unfortunately, the Stalker Soup mod is still quite unstable, and I've had quite a few crashes, but trying to explore these locations is totally worth it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this demonstration of all the biggest Stalker mods. And like I said, if I didn't show one of the bigger mods compared to these ones, it's probably likely because I never heard of it, or it's probably a Russian mod, and I can't speak Russian, so... Well, there you have it, the biggest Stalker mods with the most locations in them. I hope by watching this video you'll learn about these mods and you can go check them out. I recommend all the mods I've listed in this list. Even though Oblivion Lost Remake is in Russian and Lost Alpha has some controversy around it, I still recommend these mods.